the power of the Tory party to provide us with that target, to provide the campaigners with a target that they want to go and change the way they are changing Britain, irrespective of how you voted in the Westminster election up in Scotland. Watching the SNP go fighting the corner for Scotland has been excellent to see, and the Conservatives just keep throwing up softballs. But unfortunately, those softballs contain some deeply unpleasant and dangerous policies, such as the budget that they've just thrown.
And Labour, as the official opposition, don't seem to be doing much opposing.
Yes, I think the Labour Party haven't found their position, really, have they? It appears that they're lurching back towards a Blairite situation, a Blairite position, thinking, well, that's how they won their last elections, that's how they'll win them again, and therefore not providing clear voice for the left of centre voter, both in England and, of course, in Scotland. So I think the SNP's tactics, for example, of just turning up to the chamber, have been very, very successful in highlighting how they are providing an official opposition. I don't know how that's being played out in the media down in England, but certainly in Scotland, seeing the benches full of SNP elected representatives opposing would suggest to the Scottish people that the SNP are the opposition.
Absolutely. To move it back a little bit to the area of academia, because I've had other academics on this show who've pointed out to me a number of interesting things about the state of academic research, not so much in Scotland, but about Scotland. By that I mean there's lots of high quality stuff produced in Scotland, but someone specifically pointed the finger at Edinburgh University publishers and some other things, saying that, you can't write a book about Scotland because no one will take it. No one's interested. It's seen as parochial. And to a certain extent, the same thing with some of the research things. Have you found that?
No, I think it's partly because this is a departure, essentially, from my research background is marketing and psychology. I'm actually head of the marketing department at Heriot-University, and most of my research has been done into sustainability and sustainable consumption, where the Scottish voice talking into international themes about climate change is not a problem. So I haven't had to deal with that parochialism at all. I mean, it is an essential part of all research. All well-written research is that you take the context, so the Scottish independence referendum, and provide a clear theoretical insight from it. And in that way, you would hope that, even though this might be, for example, about the Scottish independence referendum, that politicians and activists in Portugal might read a translation because of the underlying themes that it elucidates. So that's what I would hope that my research will be able to do. But I've certainly felt no barriers yet. But then I've not knocked on those doors quite yet.
Okay, to move on a little bit, the question that I ask everyone on the podcast is a simple one. Why do you support Scottish independence?
I'm a supporter of Scottish independence. I would hope essentially because I'm a Democrat and I believe in self-determination. And I think you have to add to that I believe Scotland is a separate entity as a country that happens to have spent the last 300 years of its existence within a union. But there's nothing immutable about that union. Essentially, one of the things I was also mentioned when I was canvassing, that I have high standards and ambition for Scotland. And when I look around, I've spent a number of years in Australia, for example, working at the University of Sydney. When I look around on the travels that I made and say, well, things just aren't good enough. In the state of our schools, they're not well funded enough. We've got incredible teachers working very hard, having to buy the materials themselves. We've got fantastic universities, but again, scrabbling around for research input. We've got atrocious levels of child poverty. We've got, I'll go back to that word essentially again, we've got population that is not able to flourish and prosper according to its talents. And I believe that independence and Guinness that would be the way to give the country its confidence and to be able to solve the problems that we have. I also, my family come from Clydebank, they've been shipbuilders, so I was unfortunate enough to see what happened to that community very much through the 70s and and 80s, my parents moved down to the south of England because there was no jobs to be had at shipyards then from my father. But I would go back, visit, and see that community, these communities struggle as the shipyards closed, and then with nothing to replace it. And I also found myself feeling very, very lucky that I'd managed to escape, and through no skill on my own, I was in a position to flourish. And I felt as though I really needed to be a part of a movement that was trying to give everybody the opportunities that I've been given.
With your campaigning hat on instead of your academic hat on, where do you think we're positioned for independence in the future, for in a second referendum or moving towards independence? Do you think we're in a good position, or do you think there's still a hell of a lot of work to do?
I think independence is inevitable. Again, a phrase I used during the campaign was that Scotland is an independent country, it's just not decided when. I think the issue that we have, look back at the campaign, and we can divide the campaign into three parts. The Yes Scotland grassroots campaign was magnificent and managed to convince a whole swathe of Scotland to move from an undecided position, or in some cases a no position, to yes. When you look at the polls, we were sitting on 28%, and I would venture that the reason that we moved was because of the ground campaign. What we didn't do very well was, if you look at the other elements of the campaign that failed, I think the Scottish Government's role failed, because the Scottish Government needed to provide us legitimate answers and clear, detailed plans on big issues such as economic fiscal policy, and in particular the currency, and they singularly didn't do that throughout. So I think the biggest concern, and we've seen this play out recently with the Institute of Fiscal Studies analysis regarding the oil price, is that the big answers that kept the more cautious, the quiet no's and the no campaign, those have still not been answered. The currency issue would be brought back up again. The can you survive without oil would be brought back up again, and the answers, as far as I see, are still not there. I think the answers are there, but they've just not been articulated well by the Scottish Government. And then, despite the many magnificent things that were done in the campaign, we needed those tools. We needed those tools of a clear answer to currency and to the economy to be able to convert across. So I think we're very well set. We've got an SNP group in Westminster who are demonstrating being a very effective opposition, standing up for Scotland. I think that's essential. We've hopefully got a parliament coming round next May, which will bring lots of new talent, both from the SNP but also from the Green Party, and I hope from the SSP as well, and some independents that can show that Scotland has the talent to use these new powers. And I think that's something that's very, very important for particularly the SNP when it's choosing its candidates, that people are brought to the Parliament with the knowledge and experience to bring policy forward. I don't think we need politicians. I think we need policy makers. So people with the life experience and expertise to bring those forward. So I think if we have the SNP down south fighting for Scotland, we have a good broad-based government up here that takes those new powers and can see some meaningful changes to those core issues of child poverty, of equality, then we're very well set. But the Scottish Government also need to make some hard choices and make some very clear statements about our position on the currency and our economic position, because ultimately when you look at the people who we could have got but didn't, those were where the concerns are, and those concerns haven't been answered yet.
I'd have to say I agree with that on the whole. So thanks very much for coming on, Iain. That's been wonderful. The only thing that's disappointed me today is that you're working for Heriot-Watt, and I gave you an open goal to kick Edinburgh University, and you didn't take it. But there you go.
I've worked at Edinburgh as well, and I've got a lot of good colleagues there and lots of excellent people. So I couldn't possibly be mean to an ex-employer.
Okay, and hopefully we can get you back on to talk about the results of your work when they come in and explain how it all panned out.
Thanks very much indeed for your time, Michael. Thank you.
So there you go, that was Iain. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, I'll have a little European Union special coming out next week. And I've got some interviews to record, but I'll do that as soon as I get a minute, I promise you. Apart from that, the Scottish Independence Podcast is independently minded and independently funded. And if you'd like to help out with that, you can find that either on the right side of my webpage at michaelgreenwell.wordpress.com, or you can find it on the last line of the podcast post on the same website. Now, as always, the final thing on this podcast is that the guest chooses the tune, and Iain chose this one. So, speak to you next time.
My heart was broken. My heart was broken. Sorrow, 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 sorrow. My heart was broken. My heart was broken. You saw it. You claimed it, you touched it, you saved it. My tears are drying, my tears are drying. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My tears are drying. My tears are drying. Your beauty and kindness made tears clear my blindness. While I'm worth my room on this earth, I will be sunshine on Leith. I'll thank him for his work in your birth and my birth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You touched it, you saved it.